Hi guys and gals! Welcome to another Georgia Children Book Award nominee book talk with me, McDonough's Children's Specialist Miss Tiffany, and our Fairview Children's Specialist Miss Audrey. So far we've discussed 6 titles, but there are many more left. Today's focus is on a collection of fantastic nominees that have an underlying school project which intertwines into the rest of the story, enhancing the connection to the characters' lives. I'll be discussing 2 stories. First we have Nikki on the Line by Barbara Carol Roberts and Renee Watson's Some Places More Than Others, while Miss Audrey gives us a sneak peek into 2 other titles. Both Nikki on the Line and Some Places More Than Others are not only realistic and relatable in a family and school life setting, but they're also very enjoyable to read, leaving you with a good feeling throughout the whole story all the way to the end. We'll start with Nikki on the Line and finish up with Some Places More Than Others before Miss Audrey takes over with her 2 picks. Nikki on the Line by Barbara Carol Roberts is exciting in so many ways. Not only is it a sports story that has a girl as the main character, but it has so many real-world themes and struggles of an 8th grader addressed throughout it. We have all had to deal with the conflict of a close friend finding new friends. We've all doubted our abilities in something that we love. And we've all had to juggle new responsibilities as we get older. Not only does the author weave those aspects into the story in such an uplifting way, but she makes all of the action of the story come to life so you're unable to put the book down. Let's see what the book jacket has to say about it. Everything is on the line. When 13-year-old Nikki Doyle wins a spot on an elite level team, it feels like her dreams of becoming a basketball star might be within reach. But in a league full of taller, stronger, and faster girls, Nikki suddenly isn't the best point guard on the court. In fact, she isn't a point guard at all. As if carving out her own place on the team isn't enough to deal with, Nikki is stuck taking care of her annoying little brother after school, while her best friend starts spending more and more time with another teammate. And her science teacher has assigned a family tree project that will be impossible to complete unless Nikki reveals what must be the most embarrassing family secret of all time. With the stress piling up on the basketball court, at school, and at home, Nikki begins to wonder who she really is and where she belongs. Can she learn to compete at this new, higher level? And how hard is she willing to work to find out? All of these questions, and even some you didn't realize you had at the beginning of the story, are answered along the way. I absolutely love that about this story, and picking a favorite part is very difficult. If I had to choose, I would say I liked how Nikki rediscovered her inner strength on her own, choosing to ask for help where she needed it, and letting others in by communicating the problem that she was facing. She pushed herself forward with determination to keep doing what she loved. As her coach says at one point, not letting what she can't do get in the way of what she can. Regardless of the fact that the main character is a girl, this book is a very powerful message for boys and girls alike, to step back and see what the problem is that you're facing and where it's coming from and how to get around it so you can move forward without having to give up on something that you love. Even if you're not into sports, like me, I'm guilty, or you're not on the book club team, this is still a great read for anyone who is taking on more responsibility or trying to stick with what they love even when it gets tough. So I highly recommend it to everyone. Now we're going to move forward into our next story, Renee Watson's Some Places More Than Others. I had a really good feeling about this story somehow, and I'm pleased to say that it's definitely in my top 5 favorite picks of the nominees. Where Nikki on the Line was Barbara Carol Roberts' first debut novel, many of you know that Renee Watson as a Newbery Honor and a Coretta Scott King Award winner for her young adult work, Piecing Me Together. She's a fabulous crossover author, with Some Places More Than Others being recently joined by a new novel. We just got it in here at McDonough. It is called Ways to Make Sunshine. It came out in April. So if you like her previous work, or if you've read this and you really like it, I highly recommend that book as well. You can really get a feel of her background passion for Black culture and achievement in her works, especially so in Some Places More Than Others. Amara, the main character, goes to Harlem and discovers the impact and significance of her history for the first time. So let's see what the book jacket has to say about it. Everything and everyone has a story, a beginning. All Amara wants for her birthday is to visit her father's family in New York, Harlem to be exact. She can't wait to meet her grandpa Earl and cousins in person, to stay in the brownstone where her father grew up, and to hear all about the stories of the family she never knew. But New York City is not exactly what Amara thought it would be, and neither is her family's reunion. Still, as she explores, asks questions, and learns more and more about this place, her father, and their history, she begins to realize how, in some ways more than others, she connects with him, her home, and her family, and she discovers even more about herself. The book jacket perfectly summarizes the contents of its story while leaving out so many details, but perhaps that's because for such a short story, it packs a lot in without being overwhelming. And I know I say this about almost every nominee, but picking a favorite part was especially challenging for this title. I think if I consider family life a topic that's rooted in so many of these stories one way or another, I can narrow it down. Unlike many of the nominees this year, Amara is blessed to have both of her biological parents in a happy and healthy home environment. But even still, she knows so little about her father's past life, the before Amara of his life. And when she learns about her roots and connects with him, not only does it bring them closer together than ever before, which was already pretty awesomely close, but it also mends the broken bridges between her dad and her grandfather along the way, without her directly forcing it on either of them. It's such a beautiful read, the love of culture, the family bond, and the encompassing world of Harlem and its surrounding areas for Amara. I don't see how anyone can read this story and not enjoy it. So another one that I highly recommend to so many people, even if you're not on the reading bowl or if you're, just looking for a short story to read, definitely perfect. Personally, I've already told so many people about these stories because they were so heartwarming in many, many ways. I hope you enjoy reading them as much as I did, and that's it for me today. Otherwise, I could go on and on and on. I will see you next time. So now let's go on to Miss Audrey and see what she has for us today. Bye, guys and gals.
And I am back with another Helen Ruffin Reading Bowl title. These are the Georgia Children's Book Award nominees that are used for the Helen Ruffin Reading Bowl that's held in January. Tiffany Brown and I are doing some mini book talks about these books for you young readers. This story is Louisiana's Way Home by Kate DiCamillo. Let me read you what's on the inside cover to start with. When Louisiana Elefante's granny wakes her up in the middle of the night to tell her that the day of reckoning has arrived and that they have to leave home immediately, Louisiana figures that it's only a matter of time before Granny changes her mind and they come back home. After all, Granny has had many middle-of-the-night ideas. But this time, things are different. This time, Granny intends for them never to return. Separated from her best friends, Raymie and Beverly, Louisiana struggles to oppose the winds of fate and Granny, and to find a way to return home. But as Louisiana's life becomes entwined with the lives of the people of Richford, Georgia, including a surly motel owner, a walrus-like minister, and a mysterious boy with a crow on his shoulder, she starts to worry that she is destined only for goodbyes, which could be due to the curse on Louisiana and Granny's heads, but that's a story for another time. Called one of DiCamillo's most singular and arresting creations by the New York Times Book Review, this heartbreakingly irresistible Louisiana Elefante was introduced to readers in Raymie Nightingale, and now with humor and tenderness, Kate DiCamillo returns to tell her story. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this book. Louisiana's Way Home by Kate DiCamillo. Louisiana Elefantes is very proud of her heritage, being the daughter of trapeze artists and the great-granddaughter of a magician despite a family curse. It started when her great-grandparents left her grandma in Elf Ear, Nebraska. When Grandma whisks her away to face the day of reckoning, she wants to end this curse once and for all. They're headed back to Elf Ear, Nebraska. However, they only get as far as Richmond, Georgia. Grandma has some dental problems, and she has to see a dentist right away. But Grandma is off to face her day of reckoning, and Louisiana has to face her own reckoning. She's left with a new support system in Richmond, Georgia, while her grandmother continues on the journey to Elf Ear, Nebraska. There's a lot that happens in this story, and Louisiana meets some wonderful people, some very fine, upstanding people who help her get through tough times. Very understanding people. These stories are all about love and family, what makes a family, and what it means to be part of a family. And there's some sad parts, but there are also some really great parts too. So this is a story well worth reading. Part of the Helen Ruffin Reading Bowl contest, and also one of the top 20 titles on the Georgia Children's Book Award list. Like all the rest of the stories, they're a lot about family and friends and what makes family, why friends are so important. There's a lot of love, a lot of encouragement going on in these stories, a lot of hope, and they're all really very good stories. A lot of them very good, feel-good stories, and they make you happy when you read them. The book I'm going to tell you about today, Song for a Whale by Lynn Kelly. Let me read to you what's on the inside cover here. Iris is about to go on a grand road trip to make sure that the loneliest whale in the ocean is finally heard. From fixing the class computer to repairing old radios, 12-year-old Iris is a tech genius. But she's the only deaf person at her school, so people often treat her like she's not very smart. If you've ever felt like no one was listening to you, then you know how hard that can be. When she hears about Blue 55, a real whale who is unable to speak to other whales, Iris understands how he must feel. Then she has an idea. She should invent a way to sing to him. But he's 3,000 miles away. How will she play her song for him? Full of heart and poignancy, this affecting story by sign language interpreter Lynn Kelly shows how a little determination can make big waves. I really like this book because really it has two main characters in it. Little Iris, 12 years old, in a regular school after going to elementary school where she was one of many deaf kids. She learned sign language, she had friends. Well, she starts middle school at a regular school. Her parents decide it's time she understand how the real world works. Not everybody is deaf and not everybody knows sign language. Iris is lucky in that her family knows sign language, well, most of them anyway. Her dad's a little hesitant, but her mom knows sign language pretty well, and her grandparents knew sign language too. So she gets along pretty well with her family, but getting along with kids at school is a little bit different. She's having a little trouble finding her place in the new school. But then during one of her classes, she sees a documentary about whales. This one in particular introduces her to Blue 55. Some scientists have been trying to track Blue 55 because he swims alone, and they have not been able to put a tracker on him yet. They're hoping that they can be able to put a tracker on him so that they can see his migration patterns. But the only way they can really track him is because he sings an unusual whale song. so unusual he doesn't communicate well with other whales. See, sound is measured by measuring the sound waves in the ocean, and the term that they use to measure the sound is hertz. Most whales' songs that they use to communicate back and forth are measured at about 30-35 hertz, while this whale sings at about 55 hertz. In whale language, he's got a high squeaky voice. But Iris is totally okay with her deafness and just goes about living her life, doing the things she enjoys doing. She just doesn't like school. But she finds out about this whale and is interested in conveying to him, just be yourself. If that's the way you sing, that's the way you sing. That's okay. You don't need to find other people, other whales to be with. You can do your own thing. But how is she going to create something to give him that message? So she decides to create a song for him. So using some whale language she finds on the computer, and some music at school, and some instruments that some other kids play that are in that sound language area, she is able to put together a song for him. Now the big option, the big objective, is to get that song to him. How is she going to introduce him to this song? She finds a way, but I'm not going to spoil that for you. You got to read the story. Okay? So enjoy the Helen Ruffin Reading Bowl books, and until next time, this is Audrey. Bye.